Welcome into the Commanders Report. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. Today, the Washington Commanders made a sneaky good signing at a position of need after their loss to the Chicago Bears on Monday Night Football last night. And speaking of that game, I think last night's loss to Chicago is 100% worse now after I watched the All-22 film this morning, guys. I'll have my film takeaways later in the show, so make sure you guys stick around. But kick us off here today, guys, but let me know where you're at with this football team right now. After a 3-3 start, what is your confidence level in the Washington Commanders at this point? I think we all expected greater things for this football team, and we expected a faster start than a 3-3 start, now heading into a pretty tough 5-game stretch for this football team. So put it on a scale of 1, meaning not confident at all, this team absolutely sucks, to 10 meaning this team is absolutely still a playoff and Super Bowl contender. I'm not worried whatsoever. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. Let's start today's show here with the news that Adam Peters, the Commanders GM, has brought in and officially signed defensive end Drake Jackson to the active roster today. This comes after Dorance Armstrong left the game yesterday with a hamstring injury. Of course, it comes after both Javontae, Jean-Baptiste, and Deatrich are now out for the season with respective injuries. And Jackson is a former second-round pick when Adam Peters was still working for the San Francisco 49ers. He was the 61st overall pick in the NFL draft back in 2022, so a late second-rounder, but a second-rounder nonetheless. And he brings some good youth to the table here, just 24 years old, brings some really good size as well. And, in this kind of defense where you run, a 4-down front, you need guys that are a little bit bigger on the edge at defensive end. And Drake Jackson certainly fits that bill. Now, he missed the entire 2024 season with a knee injury and then was released by the San Francisco 49ers. And now after a workout and now more injuries to the defensive end position for the Commanders, they've decided to bring in Jackson on an active roster contract. And personally, guys, I like this signing for Washington. I think it's a pretty sneaky good signing for this football team here because, obviously he has that connection to Adam Peters from his time in San Francisco, and Peters clearly likes the physical profile here. But we finally get some youth at this position. I mean, how much have we been asking for, a draft pick at this position that's not like a 7th-round pick like Javontae, Jean-Baptiste? They've been signing guys in free agency that are veterans, guys like Dorance Armstrong, who's playing great right now. I mean, I don't have any problem with Dorance Armstrong, but you got guys like Von Miller and Jacob Martin and Deatrich and all these guys are older veterans, but none of these guys you're really projecting to be 5-year starters for this team down the road. And, who knows? Jackson might just straight up stink and, he might not be a factor for this team. But at just 24 years old, if he can come in and play pretty darn well, then the Commanders could be finding somebody that can be a contributor for them for many years to come. And then the second thing I really like about this move, guys, is that the team needs strength on the edge. We saw that last night in the run defense where, the edge was just not secured whatsoever. DeAndre Swift was able to get to the perimeter and, make things happen and, do the things that DeAndre Swift as an explosive playmaker can do. And, we'll talk about some of the run defense woes later in today's show, but getting a guy like Jackson who's a bigger body, he can set the edge. That's a good thing because you take a look at the defensive ends that the Commanders have currently, like Dorance Armstrong, really good when he's healthy, but Von Miller and Jacob Martin really underwhelmed in run defense last night, in my opinion, and then Preston Smith really did not play well. So you did bring in Preston Smith hoping that another veteran presence would help you out, but man, it was a rough go of it yesterday for Preston. So you're hoping that injecting some youth into this defensive end group is going to provide this team not only depth, but hopefully some good run defense moving forward because Von Miller, Jacob Martin, and Preston Smith, man, they're not cutting it at this point, and Armstrong is now dealing with an injury. So I think that in the future, you're probably hoping for Armstrong and Jackson to be your kind of early down guys, and then you can move in Von Miller on passing downs as a pass rush specialist because that's really what he's best at this point in his career. But right now, the Commanders are dealing with quite a few injuries to the defensive end position. It's really a big problem. Dorance Armstrong now has a hamstring injury, and even though he was able to come back and play on it for a little bit, he then had to leave the game again. So we'll see this week what the severity is of that injury, how long it's going to keep him out of practice and maybe even a couple of games. We know these hamstring issues can be pretty fickle. So that's not great news. And then, of course, you've already lost Deatrich and Javontae Jean-Baptiste to season-ending injuries. Wise had a quad injury and Jean-Baptiste had a pectoral tear. Obviously that sucks. But I think moving forward, you get a guy in Drake Jackson here, guys, and if it works out, then you're getting a long-term contributor and maybe even a starter. Like, who knows? This guy was a second-round pick for a reason. He brings some good athleticism to the table along with his size and strength. So do I think that the Commanders are getting a star edge rusher here? No, but do they necessarily need that? Personally, I don't think they do. I think they just need somebody that can be, a stout run defender, somebody that can set the edge, not allow these explosive backs like Bijan Robinson and DeAndre Swift to just make mincemeat of this Commanders rushing defense. So let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. What's your grade for the Drake Jackson signing? Give me an A, B, C, D, or F down there in the comment section to let me know what you think of this signing today. This will be the pinned comment on today's show. So in just a second here, I'm going to tell you about our sponsor today at Prize Picks. While I tell you about our sponsors today, let me know your grade for the Drake Jackson signing. And with that, let's have a word from our sponsor today at Prize Picks. And you and I, we both make decisions every single day, but on Prize Picks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Football season is finally here, and you better believe I'll be getting my Prize Picks lineups in all season long. Prize Picks is super simple to play. Just pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and if you get your picks right, you could cash in. Prize Picks also puts their users first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. Prize Picks also offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. And a new feature from Prize Picks that I absolutely love is injury reboots. If one of your players leaves the game in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks will not count it as a loss. So as we look ahead here to Thursday Night Football between the Steelers and Bengals, I'm taking the more on DK Metcalf receiving yards. I'm taking the more on Jaylen Warren rushing yards and the more on Joe Flacco interceptions. If you guys want to get in on the action here before Week 7 of professional football gets going, download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. So after watching the film today, guys, I think Washington's loss to Chicago got 100 times worse than what it looked like to me watching it live. I thought it was a pretty bad performance. Not necessarily across the board. There's some standout performances like Jaden Daniels and Cliff Kingsbury really carried a lot of the load offensively. There was some really good schemed stuff that was out there. That Bill actually ran pretty good, considering the amount of pushes offensive line was getting. The Commanders' defense showed up big in some big moments, but, generally speaking, it wasn't very good in either phase. But what really kills it, man, and what really makes it 100 times worse to me is, how much you really just gave this game away with the turnovers, all right? According to Next Gen Stats, the Chicago Bears gained a combined 56.6% win probability on the night on Washington's 3 turnovers, all right? So when you combine the win probability increase from those 3 turnovers, you get 56.6%. So, if you take away those turnovers or even take away one of those turnovers, this team had a significantly higher chance of going and getting the victory, and that is really indicative of that final play. I mean, just look at the difference in Chicago's chance to win before and after that fumble that Jaden Daniels and Bill Krosky merit. I'm going to put it on Jaden, just lost the football there late in the game. I mean, the Commanders were driving with the football, getting into close to Bears territory, and they were a first down or 2 away from ending the football game, okay? And then you just give them the football back. You go from having an 85+% chance of winning that ball game at home and going to 4-2 and feeling pretty good about your football team, even though it was an imperfect game, to going to 52.3% for Chicago to win. And, listen, man, obviously with that percentage there, Next Gen Stats still predicted the Commanders to win the ball game even after the fumble. So it's on the defense for not stopping the Bears after that. They couldn't stop DeAndre Swift. So the defense certainly carries some of the blame here as well. But, man, that is a huge, huge swing in that ball game, and it shouldn't have happened. I don't care if it was raining. But the good thing and the thing that I like about it, guys, is even though it was a crucial mistake from Jaden Daniels, he took full accountability for it after the game. He said, "It's not on Bill, it's on me. I have to handle the football." And he did say the ball was slick and it was raining, and all that is true. But he also acknowledged, hey, I get paid millions of dollars to handle the football and to focus up and make sure that doesn't happen, and I didn't do that. And he took full accountability for the loss, and that's exactly what you want your star quarterback to do. And listen, man, is it unfair to blame Jaden Daniels for the loss? Yesterday, I put the blame on him in our post-game reaction show. It might be a little bit unfair, but listen, man, as the star quarterback of the team, you're not only expected to help win the game, but you're expected to not lose the game either, all right? We all know that this Commanders roster is not necessarily stellar outside of Jayden Daniels. He's asked to carry a lot of the weight, and maybe that's a little bit unfair, but with the fame, with the notoriety, with people calling you a top 5 quarterback, like that comes with certain expectations and responsibilities, and he did not live up to those responsibilities and expectations last night. So I think it's fair to say Jayden Daniels did not live up to the standard that we as Commanders fans should hold to him. I think Jayden would be the first one to tell you that. But at the end of the day, man, I'm not worried about Jayden Daniels, all right? I'm not coming out of this game saying Jayden Daniels can't take care of the football. He was top 3 in the league last year in turnover-worthy play percentage. This is not a regular performance that we see from Jayden Daniels where he's consistently giving the football away. It's not going to be raining every single game, and the ball is not going to be as slick as it was on that final drive every single game, right? So, and if it's not raining, who knows? Like, they probably win that football game if it's not raining, right? So, I think Jayden is doing a lot of good stuff right now, especially without having his number 1 receiver out there in Terry McLaurin. I think he's using his legs effectively. I think he's doing some great stuff out of structure. I think Cliff Kingsbury and him are collaborating really well to get Jaylin Lane and Luke McCaffrey and Zach Ertz involved to make this a competent passing game. So I'm certainly not worried about Jayden Daniels, guys, but I will put this game on him for those 2 crucial turnovers that he is responsible for. Now let's get into my actual film takeaways here, guys. And I only have one offensive note here, guys, because I kind of covered everything that I wanted to say about the offense in my post-game reaction show last night, and the film didn't really reveal anything new to me other than I think Jaylin Lane should get more work as a true deep threat in this offense. Put him out on double moves more often because he absolutely cooked. I think it was Rajon Wright on the outside last night on a double move, which really opened up the game and put the Commanders in scoring position in that second half. And, he does have a little bit of an issue with his hands, but I think he's such a good double move route runner, and that was something that he did a lot during training camp this year, and he was catching a lot of deep touchdown passes from Jayden Daniels. I think, to kind of open up things underneath for this offense, for Deebo Samuel, who's not necessarily like a dynamic route runner, to open things up for Zach Ertz, who's a really good intermediate and short route runner. You got to have somebody that can take the top off the defense. And as long as Terry McLaurin is out of this lineup, he can't be in that role. So you got to have Jaylin Lane be that role. And I think, if Jayden can just give him a couple more opportunities down the field per game, that could be something that could really open up the rest of this Commanders passing attack moving forward. But now we're shifting to the defense, man, and it wasn't a good night. Eddie Goldman was inactive for this game, and after watching this tape backwards and seeing how bad this run defense was, I kind of was left scratching my head as to why Eddie Goldman didn't get a helmet. He is somebody that is a nose tackle that is over 310 pounds. He's a really big guy, and he's played a really good season on early downs as a nose tackle option for the Washington Commanders this year. And he obviously didn't get a helmet, and I just don't know why that is. He was a healthy scratch. So I think that hopefully Joe Witt Jr. and Dan Quinn learn their lesson. You need Eddie Goldman out there on the sideline and on early downs to help your run defense out, because without him, that early down run defense in particular was not nearly as good as it has been in weeks past. And then also, speaking of people that were nowhere to be found on defense, where the hell was Jordan Magee? Where was he? All right, he had 12 snaps versus the Chargers, which isn't like a ton, but he was really effective as a blitzer. He looked good, and he looked fast out in coverage. But today, or last night I should say, Magee had 0 non-garbage time defensive snaps versus the Bears. All right? It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable, man. And the only time he was out there was when the Bears were taking a knee. It's unexplainable to me, because Magee is, maybe a little bit undersized, maybe don't want him out there on early downs, but he's a very athletic, very fast coverage linebacker. And what is one of the biggest issues with the Commanders' defense right now? It's Bobby Wagner out there and his slow ass not able to cover anybody. And this is a big problem with the Commanders' defense right now. Bobby Wagner is almost unplayable, which is my next takeaway here, guys. Bobby Wagner, he's somebody that I love his leadership. I love his blitzing ability. I love his intelligence. But his lack of athleticism at this point in his career, guys, it is severely concerning. All right, there was multiple times yesterday where in zone coverage, he was caught flat-footed and he just couldn't, get the acceleration back going. He couldn't get the engine started again, and it led to big, big plays for the opposing offense. And I just think that when you go up against guys like Ben Johnson, when you go up against guys like Zach Robinson of the Falcons, who's doing a terrific job right now, by the way, when you go up against Matt LaFleur, when you go up against these really good play callers, they're going to exploit Bobby Wagner in coverage. It's just the way it's going to be. And by the way, Wagner's lucky he didn't give up like a 90-yard touchdown to Olamide Zaccheaus in the fourth quarter last night in man coverage. Like, I don't know why this – I mean, he's the green dot. He's the leader of this defense. I get all that. But, like, in these pass-heavy situations, it makes 0 sense for him to be out there on the field. 0 sense. All right? And I get, all the leadership stuff and all that stuff. I can already hear the people in the comment section. But, like, it's just not good. And you got to make an adjustment at some point. All right? And I hate to say that Bobby Wagner is cooked athletically, but it has finally happened. All right? He has been an all-pro caliber player for a long time. And even in previous seasons, he hasn't been a great defensive player in terms of pass coverage, but he's been serviceable because he's been a really good run defender, and he's been a really good blitzer, and he's been a great communicator. He's still a great communicator. He's still really smart, and on occasion he can make a good play in run defense and when he's blitzing. But he is a complete liability, both man and zone coverage for the Commanders' defense in passing situations. And Jordan Magee needs to start being phased in my opinion. That's one of the biggest things this Commanders coaching staff needs to come to grips with if they're going to fix this defense in the weeks to come. But speaking of the defense here, there's just no edge on the run defense, man. And we've seen guys that are really explosive on the perimeter like Bijan Robinson and like DeAndre Swift now completely cook this run defense here in Washington. And, when Dorance Armstrong's out there, when they had Deatrich Wise out there, like they were able to set the edge really consistently, and it was actually really good. But now Armstrong's dealing with an injury, and this is part of the reason why you bring in Drake Jackson. But Jacob Martin and Von Miller and Preston Smith, those guys were not getting the job done. And then when the running back would get to the perimeter, Mike Sainristil will be out there as the slot corner, and he wouldn't be able to make the tackle because he's super tiny and he's not a good tackler. So, speaking of Sainristil, I don't know what to do with him, man. He's not good in coverage. He doesn't bring size to the table. He doesn't tackle. He can't cover tight ends. Like, what exactly does he do at a high level other than run into a couple of interceptions this season? With a bad throw from Michael Penix and then, a tip ball from Justin Herbert in the Charger game. Like, outside of those two kind of big plays, what has Sainristil done this year? He can't cover anybody from the slot, apparently, which was one of his big things at Michigan. And, he doesn't bring a lot of size to the table either. So, I think that he's just not a good slot corner, which is crazy to say because when he was coming out of Michigan, people said he could only play in the slot because he's not very fast. So I think right now, when you look at Sainristil's profile as an undersized, kind of slower corner that doesn't tackle very well, the only way you can say he's a starting caliber player in this league is in a kind of similar role to what he played last year in the Commanders defense, an off-coverage kind of zone corner that, has his eyes on the quarterback and plays with instincts. And, right now it just doesn't really fit with what the Commanders are trying to ask of him right now. Like, they're trying to play a lot of man coverage right now, and Sainristil's not good in man coverage because he doesn't have a lot of speed, so these speedier wide receivers are killing him on crossing routes, just like Luther Burden III did on that slot cross last night. I think there's two problems with the way that Mike Sainristil's profile kind of projects out as an NFL corner and how the Commanders are playing him right now. Number one, you can't really move him outside at this point because Trey Amos is playing lockdown football. He's been awesome to start his career. He's one of the best cover corners in football right now, in my opinion. And then you got Marshawn Lattimore, who's put together two pretty darn good weeks for the Washington Commanders. So you're not moving either of those guys off of the outside. But then also, Washington wants to play more man than zone. That's just kind of the identity of Joe Witt Jr. and Dan Quinn. So, it's just not a good fit here between Mike Sainristil and the Commanders' defense. And honestly, at this point, I'm considering my options to move on from Sainristil and bring somebody else into this lineup because he's just not getting the job done. And I understand you spent a high draft pick on him and you want to believe in him. But right now, I'm seriously thinking about putting Jonathan Jones in the slot once he gets back from his hamstring injury. He's eligible to come off of IR this week. And if he comes back, if I'm Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr., I'm thinking about making a change because it's just not getting any better as we're getting closer and closer to the midway point in this NFL season already. And honestly, I'd think about bringing in C.J. Gardner-Johnson if he's interested in coming here. All right, he just got released from the Ravens practice squad. The Ravens traded for a safety last week, Alohi Gilman from the Chargers, and C.J. And his agent apparently want an opportunity to play somewhere else, a place that's actually going to play him and put him on the active roster. And the Commanders, I think, are one of those teams. All right, if you're looking for physicality in the run game, this guy can bring that. If you're looking for somebody that can play nickel for this defense and play big nickel, which is a very modern type of formation that lots of defensive play callers are using, he can be your big nickel. All right, he can bring that level of physicality that this secondary has been missing all season long, and you combine him with the rest of this talent in the secondary, guys, I think you could have a pretty decent defense, and I think that would help out a lot of the issues you're seeing from the nickel position with Mike Sainristil currently occupying that position. So will he come to the Commanders? I don't know. I don't even know if the Commanders are interested. He might go back to Philly. Some of the indications on Twitter and stuff are indicating he wants to go back to Philly, but I could also see him wanting to play Philly twice. They traded him away this offseason after he helped them win a Super Bowl. So it's going to be an interesting discussion to see what happens with Sainristil, what happens in that slot cornerback spot. All I know, guys, is that the tape from Mike Sainristil right now is not looking good. If the Commanders want to get better, either Sainristil needs to step the hell up or they need to get him the hell out of there and bring somebody else in who is going to do a better job moving forward. So let me know down there in the comments section, do you still believe in Mike Sainristil as this team's slot cornerback? I had really high expectations for him heading into the year, guys. He has not lived up to those at all. In fact, he's been straight up I don't want to use the word terrible, but he's just not been good, guys. So give me a yes or a no down there in the comment section. Do you still believe in Mike Sainristil? And that'll be it for today's edition of Commanders News and Rumors. Tomorrow we'll have another video for you guys to enjoy on this channel. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Until tomorrow, guys, hail to the Commanders.